Good afternoon. The Jewish world and the American world was saddened and shocked by the sudden passing of Senator Joe Lieberman, a remarkable human being who stood by his principles, by his values, even when it cost him his seat in the Senate, starting from the days of the impeachment of Bill Clinton when he stood up on the floor, to the days of the Iran deal, and when he felt that the Democratic Party was veering off of its mission. He was a remarkable human being. He was humble, kind, generous, and loved the Jewish. Interesting stories that I always love sharing of him is, the first story is when he lost the election and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. He was the first Jewish nominee on a national American ticket. And when he lost and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and he came home, he was dejected. And he was sitting there, he could have been vice president. And his wife, Hadassah, was there, and she saw that he was sad, and she looked at him and she patted him on the back. She said, "Don't worry, Joe. In this house, you'll always be the vice president." And he wrote it in the book that he wrote about Shabbos, about his observance of Shabbos, what it meant to be running for vice president and to keep Shabbos, and how sometimes he would have to stay late for a vote and the Secret Service would have to walk him back in the rain or in the cold in Washington, D.C. Another interesting story was after the Supreme Court gave its verdict, so the Secret Service, now he was no more vice presidential candidate, so he didn't need the Secret Service. And the day they left was a Friday evening, but yet the next morning he sponsored a Kiddush and Shul to celebrate them. And we all know about how many presidential, vice presidential candidates or presidents mistreated the Secret Service, but not Joe Lieberman. And I think his daughter got married right after, and although it was so sad, he kibitzed how happy he was that his daughter was getting married, that he wanted to give everyone an earmark. In any case, we miss the people like Joe Lieberman, their politics, which was to rise up above the party, to protect the country, his moral clarity and vision, and his love for Israel. And they once asked him, "Are you able to run for vice president? Are you able to be vice president and Shomer Shabbos, observe Shabbos? How could you do that?" And he said, "How could I not observe Shabbos and be vice president?" In any case, in this week's Torah portion, talking about being grateful and thankful for a remarkable man like this, we read about the Korban Todah. The Korban Todah was the thanks offering that was given if you got out of the hospital, out of prison, if you went over the sea. And today, actually, although we don't have the temple and we don't have the blessing, we don't have the sacrifice, we have a blessing that we make, the Gomel blessing. Every time you're saved from an accident or any other miracle that happens to you, you make the blessing. And it's interesting because all the sacrifices that we learned about in this week's Torah portion, like the peace offering, you were able to eat the meat that night, and the next day. But when it came to the thank you offering, the Gomel offering, as we would say, the Todah offering, you had to finish it that night. And the question is why? One of the Hasidic masters tells us something very beautiful. He says every day in our service, in the Modim, we say, Modim Anachalach, thank you to the Almighty, that you are our God. And then we say, Al Nisecha Shebachol Yom, for your miracles that you do for us every day, Erev, Avoker, V'tzarayim, evening, morning, and afternoon, constantly. Says the Imar Emes, that's why when it came to the thank you sacrifice, you had to finish it that day. Because you know why? Because tomorrow there'll be another miracle. Every day, God does a miracle for each and every one of us. You open up your eyes. I was sitting yesterday giving a class, and someone says, "Rabbi, when you open up your eyes every morning, you say the Modeh Ani Lefanecha, you thank God that your eyes open up, your mouth opens up, you're breathing, you're reinvigorated, you're recharged." Every day a miracle happens to us. And therefore, Torah tells us, When you bring a thank you for that miracle, finish it that day. So tomorrow you could be able to focus and realize and recognize the miracle that will continue happening to you. All day we have miracles. Sometimes we just don't see it. We don't recognize it. Or we become accustomed to it and take it for granted. And what the Todah, sacrifice, and the Goma blessing makes us do is be cognizant and appreciate the gift, the blessings, the miracles that God gives us every day of our life. They say the story about this guy who came to Shul on Shabbos, and he said, Rabbi, next week I want to sponsor the Kiddush. And the Rabbi says, why? He says, I was in a car accident, and I went out unscathed, and thank God I'm healthy, and I want to thank Hashem. The week after, a guy walks up to him and says, Rabbi, I want to sponsor the Kiddush. And I said, why were you also in a car accident? He says, no, I'm thanking God because I wasn't even in a car accident. We have to thank God and appreciate every miracle. Not just when you're in an accident and you're miraculously saved, but the fact that you get up in the morning, you breathe, you open your eyes, you're healthy. That should give you a moment to take pause and to say, Modani lefanecha, thank you, Almighty, shechazarta binishmasi, that you return my soul to me, bechem l'rabba emunasecha, with great compassion, is your faith in me, that you gave me life again and the opportunity to make a difference in this world. Joe Lieberman, for 82 years, left a tremendous mark on the Jewish people. He was a sanctification of Hashem's name, a Kiddush Hashem, and a true American patriot who embodied the dictum, put your country before yourself and before your politics. That's who Joe Lieberman was, and it will all cost him his seat. He never regretted it. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.